Hi, I'm Will from Tested.
And I'm Norm from Tested.
Norm, last year's Kindle Paperwhite is my all-time favorite ebook reader.
Now, which generation was that? There have been so many Kindles.
So there was the first one that was white with the silver thing down the side to mark your place.
And that was real big and thick and fat.
And then there was a second generation one that was nice and svelte with a keyboard.
Also white.
Also white. Then there was a third generation was gray with a keyboard. And
that was a dramatic reduction in size.
And then the fourth year there were two Kindles. There was the Kindle Touch.
None of them had the keyboard.
And the Kindle with buttons, but no keyboard.
A lot of people still like that 4th gen with the buttons, but no touch.
It's pretty good, but it doesn't have a backlight. And then last year they rolled out the Paperwhite one, which is, it still doesn't have buttons, which I do miss, but the backlight more than makes up for it, or front light is actually what it is. But it's lit, so you can use it in bed without any kind of ungainly light hanging off the top. No extra accessories to buy. It is a fantastic piece of hardware, great for reading books.
And then now we have the 6th generation Kindle.
Yes.
Also called Paperwhite because it's backlit. And is it really that much different than last year's?
It's not really that much different at all. So I have both of them here in my hands. Conveniently, they both have the same ad on them. I don't know how that happened.
Let's do a blind test.
Okay.
Just in terms of sheer weight.
I'm going to shuffle them.
Because they are, weight-wise, a little different. One is heavier.
One is 7 grams heavier. The new one is 7 grams lighter than the old one. So I'm passing them over to Norm.
Oh my goodness, this is tough.
They are functionally identical.
They feel almost exactly the same.
7 grams is less than you can tell.
Just by staring at the covers?
You're going to be able to tell because one is fingerprintier than the other.
Oh, okay. Yeah, this is the new one.
Correct. The only way you can tell the difference is that the new one has Amazon on the back,
while
and the old one has Kindle on the back.
They feel almost exactly the same.
They look the same. They work a lot the same. There's a couple of hardware changes in the new one. There's a faster CPU, which is actually kind of nice. You don't notice it on day-to-day page turns and stuff like that. I'm going to go ahead and fire it up and lose our cover synchrony here. But when you turn the page, it's a little tiny bit faster than on the old one. Not really distinguishable. And there was an initial problem with the early software that made it actually take, there were some false positives and stuff on the page.
So right now, the one on the left is a new one.
I'm going to switch them. Okay. The one on the right is the new one, so you can see it better. I'm going to go backwards. So you can see it's a little tiny bit faster, but not much. One of the other things that changes is it seems like that black flash, which I know some people really object to, is less frequent on the new one with the newer screen.
And that's the way e-ink screens work.
Yes.
They do a refresh of the screen every page, but every so many cycles it has to do like a hard refresh and go all black and flashback.
Exactly. So the way e-ink works is there's little micro bubbles encased in cells, and those bubbles have positive and negative axes. So to display black, they flip all the bubbles in one direction. Display white, they flip all the bubbles in the other direction.
It's like a really, really high-tech Etch-a-Sketch.
It is kind of, yeah, actually it's kind of like an Etch-a-Sketch. The new screen is whiter, although if you look at them side by side, you can't tell a difference.
Nope.
Which one's the new one? It's this one right here in my right hand. The one in the left hand is the old one. It's a marginal difference. The backlight behaves a little bit differently now. So I'm going to flip this up. This, to get, like previously with the last generation, when I was reading in a very dark room, bedroom at night, I kept the backlight on the very lowest setting. Now on the very lowest setting, to reach an equivalent backlight, it's on the 5 setting out of, I think, 30 stops or 25 stops.
So you're saying it can get darker than before?
It can go both dimmer and much brighter than before.
Wow.
So that is actually noticeably bright. I don't know if you guys can see it on camera, but for us, this one is just the teensy-beetsiest bit brighter than the old one. But like I said, it's my favorite place to read books. The font choices are numerous. I think you have 6. I'm going to go ahead and move the old one off of the screen now to avoid confusion. I had to check to see which one was which. I think that's
really bright.
I'm going to bring it down a notch here, just so that people can see.
We don't really need the backlight because we have room lighting.
So that's no backlight. I leave it on 5 pretty much all the time. It doesn't seem to impact battery life. I am going to go back in here. 6 font choices. The thing that I find more useful is the line spacing and margin spacing, because then you can make the page as dense or as open as you want. And the font sizes, there's many choices from tiny and illegible all the way up to, hey, I need to go to the eye doctor, something fierce. I like the 3rd setting.
And this is different from last year's?
It's the same as last year's. Nothing's changed on that front. It also includes all the same X-ray stuff that you had before. So I'll show you this. I actually like this because it means that you can highlight a name of somebody, a character or place, and it gives you both the context in the larger world if it's not a fictional thing, but if it's just the fictional character's name, I'm going to find a character name. Here we go. GenSec. Nope, that's not going to do it.
It's trying to search Wikipedia. It's
trying to search Wikipedia because GenSec it thinks is not a character name. Okay, so this is one of the names of the characters in the book. It shows you all the places that he pops up.
Very useful for something like Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones is great. China Mieville books where you have lots and lots of characters. They all have really weird, crazy names. It's hard to keep up with who's who. This lets you kind of keep up. One thing that's a little bit bummer about big, long series like Game of Thrones is that it doesn't actually give you context across the book.
That's just the first book.
Right. So if you're into the fourth book, and you want to know what's up with Dorne, it's not going to give you the context from earlier books, just from the most recent ones. This stuff also applies to words that are just words. If you don't know words, you download a dictionary, it's free, and it tells me that a prod is a verb and a noun. In this case, it's being used as a noun, which is a poke with a finger, foot, or pointed object. So that stuff's good if you're, like I said, if you're reading books that have challenging vocabulary. I actually find myself using it finally now because the touchscreen enables that, makes it easier to use.
And this is a hardware change from last year this year. People who have the Kindle from last year, all the software changes they would get anyway.
Sometimes they come a little bit later than the initial release, but yeah, the X-ray stuff has been in the last gen Kindle from the very beginning. The dictionary stuff is all there new. The vocabulary builder, which I haven't actually gotten to work yet, it's supposed to pop up on the lock screen with words that you search for, so that it helps you, reinforce the words that you didn't know previously. Like I said, it hasn't come up with those for me yet. The other big change is that the additional CPU lets you use more graphical books. So this is a Dr. Seuss book. It's for kids.
Wow. Picture books.
And you can see picture books. Now, obviously, they're not going to be in color, but in a pinch, you want to have your kid's favorite book with you when you're traveling or something. There you go. You can use this instead of a tablet. Or
I noticed you're reading here in landscape orientation. The Kindle's always had a good aspect ratio that supports both the portrait and landscape.
Yeah, it's only landscape, it seems like, for the kids. I've only bought a couple of kids' books, picture books. It seems like it's only landscape.
Is there an accelerometer inside that lets you change orientation? Nope.
I don't think so. Okay. I think it just happens automatically. That is totally unclear to me. And of course, the font choices and stuff like that are unavailable in picture books because these are just bitmaps. I don't even think I can search. I can't even tap to search. I guess
kids can't learn definitions of words.
If they need to know what a brick is, they got to ask mommy. So that's that. Like I said, the hardware is a marginal improvement. You don't really see the benefit of the new CPU. The page turns are a tiny bit faster, but I never found them objectionable before. The screen is a little bit brighter, but it wasn't a problem before. It got plenty dim to read in a pitch black room. It got plenty bright to read in wherever you need a crazy bright room.
Now, Kindles have always also been known for their battery life.
Yes.
And how is the new one compared to last year's?
So I got this one on September 3rd or 4th. I don't remember exactly the day, but the order shipped on the 3rd. Today is the 29th, I believe.
Of October.
Of October. I charged it the day that I got it, so it would be totally full because it came at 3/4 charge. And I have used it this entire time, every night reading, without charging the battery once.
That's
like
heavy
7
reading,
weeks.
Heavy casual reading.
Figure it's 30 minutes to 2 or 3 hours a night, depending on the night.
It's not sitting.
It is not just sitting unused. This is the Wi-Fi model, not the 3G model. In previous editions, the 3G models had a little bit worse battery life. And with like I said, with the backlight set to the 5 setting, which I find is great for everyday use.
And the verdict for almost 2 months of full use?
It's great. It's fantastic.
You haven't charged it?
Haven't charged it.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's the big advantage over a device like an e-ink reader over, say, a more fully functional tablet like the Kindle Fire HDX or iPad or Nexus 7. Is that the battery life on this? There's no comparison.
Does it even give you a battery indicator?
There is a battery indicator in the top right. It doesn't move very often, and when you get close, it says, "Hey, you're going to need to plug in soon." And you may, and at that point, if you turn off Wi-Fi, you can get a couple more days. So literally, this is a kind of thing that if you travel a bunch, you can chuck it in your bag, carry it with you on a month-long trip across Europe or something, and maybe not need to charge it at all.
Now imagine if you're on Wi-Fi and you're searching Wikipedia a lot, looking at a lot of definitions, or downloading a lot of books, that's going to affect battery life.
The downloading doesn't seem to make that much of a difference. I mean, I average pretty much a book a week, so that's 3 minutes once a week. It's no big deal.
And Kindle still downloads entire book at a time.
Yes, so there's no streaming. The dictionaries are also downloaded onto the book, so you choose which dictionary you want, whether you want the American, the Oxford American, or New Oxford English, whichever dictionaries you want. So that stuff it doesn't have to look up. It does look up Wikipedia. I think it pulls the X-ray information down when it actually pulls the book. And then some books are larger than others. If you're downloading graphic novels, which I actually haven't tested with this, I have Watchmen here somewhere, or stuff like Fox and Socks, then that's going to take more time, more bandwidth, and actually more space.
I can't imagine that reading graphic novels on that is going to be a good experience.
It's not what
That's why Amazon also has the Kindle Fire.
Exactly. And you have Kindle apps for every tablet imaginable. So yeah, that's that. I think that's it on the hardware. Like nothing else has changed really. They've added some stuff like parental controls. So now you can go into settings, and I can actually say if this is going to be a Kindle for my child, I can say, okay, turn off access to the store so they can't buy stuff, turn off the web browser, turn off access to the cloud, which means that they can't go into the list of all the books you've purchased. So that means if you have stuff that may be inappropriate for kids,
bodice
50 Shades of
rippers.
Grey, bodice rippers.
I learned that phrase this weekend.
Yeah, you learned all sorts of stuff this
bodice
weekend.
Bodice rippers. Not for kids.
Then what that means is that you have to curate what's on the Kindle by going to that Manage Your Kindle page and saying, okay, I want to send these books to my kid's Kindle, but not
You could be the book fairy
for
your kid. So every week they get a new book that appears magically on their Kindle.
Norm Jr., reading is fundamental. You have a new book available to you today. Go nuts.
Wow.
So like that stuff, once you do that, you can't remove it from the account. You have to then get the Kindle, turn all that stuff back off, and then remove it from the account. But there's no big deal there. And of course, it supports all the WhisperSync stuff that all the Kindle hardware has supported since the very beginning.
Has that ever failed for you?
For a while, you couldn't reset that. So if you read a book once, and then you wanted to come back to it, or somebody else that shared your account wanted to read it, every time that you turn it on, it would say, hey, your furthest position is the end of this book. Do you want to fast forward to that? They've actually changed that. So now you can go into the Manage My Kindle settings and reset your position in the book to the very beginning, which is awesome because sometimes Gene and I will read the same book. They also turned on Matchbook just this morning. I've, over the years, Matchbook is the service that's kind of like the Kindle, like the Amazon instant, what is it they called it? The instant rip MP3, auto rip MP3s or something, where if you buy CDs, then the MP3s show up in your cloud player.
If you buy a physical book now.
A physical book.
And it's supported.
Yeah, sometimes.
Then for a small additional fee.
Yes.
Then you can get the Kindle version.
So I've bought thousands of books from Amazon over the last 12, 13 years. How many books would you guess showed up from me?
Well, okay, so the reason this is interesting is it backdates too.
It backdates for every physical book I've ever bought from Amazon.
From Amazon.
Theoretically.
Theoretically, if the publisher supports it. And
the author and everybody else.
Of the hundreds or thousands of books that you've bought, I'm going to be conservative and say a dozen of them are supported.
You're a little high. It was 8.
Wow.
It was a bunch of stuff from Neil Stephenson, Neil Gaiman, a couple of Arthur C. Clarke books.
Were they from big publishers? Or?
They're all from big publishers.
Okay.
It seems like the challenge is that they have to get the authors on board in addition to the publishers. So it's going to take a while. And the fees range from $1.99 to $2.99 to unlock the new books, which I feel is pretty reasonable for favorites.
So if you read books from futurists or forward-thinking authors, they're more likely to be on board.
The science fiction guys seem to come on first for this stuff.
That makes more sense.
Yeah.
J.K. Rowling, not so much.
She's raking in the dough with Pottermore. Yeah. So, what else have we got here?
Pricing.
This starts at $120.
That seems expensive.
The base model,
given that the Kindle dropped below $99 2 years ago. I
think you can get the base one, the base Kindle, which is now the 4th generation. It's the 4th generation, slightly updated. Is I think $79 with offers now, which is a great deal. I find that the added convenience of the backlight being built in, instead of having to buy either a $10 clip-on light that's going to constantly annoy you, or a $40 or $50 case that hooks into the Kindle and uses its power to run an LED that illuminates the screen kind of poorly. I'd rather spend the $40 on better hardware than buy a $35 case,
functional hardware,
and save $5.
and the processor speed and all that stuff.
Now I haven't actually ever disabled the ads, so I have it set up so I can do that. I kind of want to see what happens.
And you're paying $20.
I'm paying $20. I'm closing the gap.
Now, to be fair, some of the ads initially were useful. They were discounts on things you'd normally buy.
They were much more targeted at first. If you look at them now. Right now, it is mostly other books. So this is J. Lincoln Fenn's Poe. I might actually read that. That sounds kind of interesting. There's a lot of like bodice rippers. Oh, look, I could get the 5-watt USB charger for my Kindle Paperwhite. It'll charge with any USB charger. It doesn't actually come with a USB charger anymore, which I find...
just the cable.
Some people might be offended by that. I was totally okay with it.
Yeah,
I have more than enough. At 5 years plus of power bricks being USB, I think we all have enough USB power bricks laying around.
Last thing you need is more warts.
Yeah. So that ad carries over onto the homepage, so you can go back and click through to it. If you click through to it, it basically usually puts you with something that lets you just buy it right from the Kindle, which is great. I don't know how that interacts with the parental controls. I have to assume that the parental controls
won't let you shop.
Turning on the store parental controls might be a free way to turn off the ads. I don't know. We should maybe test that. I'm going to go ahead and hit the $20 and see what happens.
All right, kill your ads.
I'm killing my ads.
You've done it. It gave Amazon $20.
Connect Kindle to Wi-Fi to complete the process. I'm going to sync. I'm connected to Wi-Fi.
Now at $120, this isn't something you'd recommend that someone who bought last year's Kindle Paperwhite upgrade to.
Absolutely not. Last year's Paperwhite and this year's, in case you didn't get from all the early stuff, you can't tell the difference between them.
Almost exactly the same.
7 grams weight, a slightly brighter screen, a slightly faster CPU. None of that stuff matters enough to shell out another $120.
And Amazon is not selling last year's Paperwhite anymore.
No,
that's discontinued.
You can still buy used ones on the store. You might have to reboot the Kindle to get this to work.
That's what I would recommend. I think that if you wanted a Kindle Paperwhite, you don't want to spend $120. Look at the secondary market. Look on eBay. Look on Craigslist. I'm sure there are plenty of people who are getting rid of last year's Paperwhite who maybe have a new one or have got one as a gift, and you can probably get one for around $100.
If you are the kind of person who reads one book a week, this is a fantastic purchase, I think.
Is there any integration yet with audiobooks?
There is. So it works with the Kindle. Audible Audiobooks feature Whisper Sync now, or some of them do not. It's a relatively small list, but it usually prompts you when you buy the book. And the way that works is you can typically pay a small additional fee, typically for $2 to $5 in my experience, which will let you then have access to the Audible book. And that Whisper Sync works across from the paper book or the digital book. Oh, special offers have been removed, and they're gone. That was.
You live in an ad-free world.
I live beyond the ads.
You get the legitimate wallpapers.
That's my wallpaper. I think I can set my own wallpaper now.
Amazing. Well worth the $20.
I don't know about that.
We don't know yet.
So yeah, the Audible. What that does is it looks at your place in the paper book. It lets you get the unabridged version of the audiobook, and then it puts you usually at the start of that page on the audiobook, which is amazing.
Right.
It's amazing.
That's if you're the type of person, and we talked about this last time, if you read books and then you also can transfer to listening to the same book and going back to reading it, and there's no disconnect.
Yes.
Because some people, they're going to focus on listening to the book, and they're not going to do the reading, or they're going to do the reading only, and they can't go back and forth.
It takes a minute. I've only done it for a couple of books. It's typically stuff that I'm so into that I get up in the morning, I do a little bit of reading while I drink my coffee. I'm like, oh damn, I don't want to get in the car and drive and not be able to read more.
See, I listen to it.
So I listen to it in the car.
But the voice in your head sounds different than the voice on the audiobook.
I'm okay. I don't have that doesn't bother me personally, but I know some people.
You sound like Ian McKellen in your head?
I mean, why not?
Yeah.
If you could sound like anybody, who would you rather sound like?
Can you buy the physical book, pay the upgrade to get the ebook, and then pay the upgrade again to get the audiobook and have the book in 3 formats?
I do not know. That is a good question.
That would be pretty impressive.
Given the list, I think there's only 75,000 books that are in the matchbook list right now. So probably not, but maybe for those 75,000. The overlap, the thing I find is that most books don't have audio versions.
Right.
So,
and the audio versions, if you buy them alone, are very expensive.
Yeah, they're typically $20, 15 or $20.
And there is no headphone jack.
No headphone jack,
which they took away from,
audio.
I think, after the 3rd gen Kindle.
Yes.
So you can't listen, there's no dictation or that kind of stuff.
That stuff, I use that once or twice just as part of a review process. It's not very good. It's not, it's a robot reading voice. It's hard to listen to. It is, I would rather just wait and read the book than have the robot read to me. Having a narrated experience by a voice actor is a much better experience.
Now, do you find that because on a tablet where you can get the Amazon Kindle app and you can read there, and you can get the Audible app and listen to the book on one device, is that more convenient than having two devices?
It can be, especially if you already have a tablet. If you already have a tablet, there's been some research that shows that having the bright light of a transmissive screen blasting you in the face right before you go to bed can kind of mess up your sleep patterns.
I don't want to hear that.
I'm sorry, Norm. It's the truth. You gotta. It's
a ritual.
What, the laying in bed with the tablet just blasting you in the face?
Yeah,
it's good. There's ideas that it messes up your circadian rhythm at like a hindbrain level. The research on that definitely isn't comprehensive. It's a relatively new concept. This is more of a traditional screen. This is more equivalent to having a light that looks on the screen, reflects off, and then comes into your eyes. So it is less in your face. You can turn it way down, so it's just bright enough to read. I find I like this device better than especially a 10-inch tablet. It's easier to hold in your hand. It's more comfortable to hold for long periods of time. And if you drop it on your face, you're not going to hurt yourself.
And for the same reason, you wouldn't recommend getting a DX for anyone.
The DX is for lawyers and people who have that's the oversized, crazy, huge e-ink tablet. I don't even know if they still make those. I haven't seen one in the real life in 3 or 4 years, probably. The last thing I want to say is the touchscreen. They have done some stuff with it. I don't know exactly what technology it uses. They don't say explicitly. It is kind of multi-touch aware. It's not responsive like an iPad or a Nexus 7 or a real tablet, but it works through cloth. So you can use it with gloves on, which is great if you're on the train or something like that and live someplace cold where you need to wear gloves in the winter.
Still a web browser on there.
It's a real crappy web browser. The pricing starts at $120 for the Wi-Fi with offers and no 3G. It's an additional $60 to add 3G. That includes the cost of service. You don't have to pay a monthly charge for the 3G service, and it's more than sufficient to download books. I know everybody is excited about LTE, but to download a book, which is less than a meg typically, it takes 30 or 40 seconds. It's the kind of thing that if you're on a plane, you land, you don't have to change planes, you finish your book on the last flight, you're getting ready to take off on the next one, you have more than enough time to download a book or two for the next leg of your flight. It's $20 off to remove the offers. You can get it with the offers, see how offensive you find them, and then take them off later. I don't find them bad. The only thing that annoys me is that the way the screensaver works. I feel like they added this tap to swipe, and they definitely did, because this is what I wanted to know. So look, here are two Kindles. The one on the left is the new one. The one on the right is the old one. Look, I just picked this up. I don't have to look at it to turn it on, except you have to swipe to unlock the Kindle. On the no ads one, it just goes straight to the home screen or wherever you were last.
Why don't you look at the ad?
So they want you to look at that ad. That's why they added that swipe screen. I knew it. I knew it.
Well,
Amazon. I feel like $20 off is a fair price for having to look at ads for the life of the device. I don't find that too bad.
Amazon Kindle Paperwhite.
Kindle Paperwhite 2013 edition. If you are in the market for an ebook reader with the collapse of Barnes & Noble, I think this is probably your best bet. The integration with the Amazon store, the massive selection of books they have, makes it a really, really good, compelling product.
Is there anything you'd want more in a Kindle, or you think they've reached the point where it can't get any better?
I mean, they're always going to make the screen a little bit wider and the backlight a little brighter and the battery a little bit better and the CPU a little bit faster. I think that this is a device you can buy and use for 5 or 6 years. The next big jump is going to be color e-ink, which it's unclear if that's ever going to happen. So, this is as close to a future-proof product as we can get. Last year's model is still great. If you can find one of those used, want to buy one from a friend, you can totally do that. There's no reason not to get this if you read a lot of novels and biographies and books and stuff like that. So
all right.
That's the Kindle Paperwhite. It's $120, goes up to $200. For Test Time, we'll see you guys later.
Bye.